Good afternoon, everybody. Today's recipe is another in the series of North American comfort food recipes. Today's recipe is pot roast, and it is Sunday. How appropriate, because pot roast is usually made on Sundays. For this, you will need a blade pot roast, a couple onions, 4 carrots, 4 celery stalks, some oil, salt and pepper. Seasonings are very simple for this. Potato peeler, large knife for prep. Some yellow potatoes, they cook much better. Your large frying pan that you've seen before, and the roaster. I've had this for, I don't know what, 15, 20 years. These things last forever. It's an enamel roaster that you make roasts with, and turkeys and all kinds of other stuff. Okay, so I'm going to get the prep going, get the carrots peeled, and the onions and whatnot and celery cleaned up, and I'll be back. Okay, so the vegetables are peeled, and I've got some water in the bottom as well, about halfway up the carrots. Now I'm searing the roast in a pan to get it browned on all sides. It's about halfway done now. What you do is get the pan with some oil, fairly high heat. It will stick a bit until the meat cooks slightly. Make sure you've got your fan on for this, because the oil will smoke. So what you do is take the time to sear this completely on all sides, including the ends as you see here. I've got the oven heated up at 350, so as soon as I finish searing this, I'm going to just pop that roast onto the vegetables and put it with the onions that I'm going to chop up. Alright, so the roast is seared. I'm just going to drop that down into the roasting pan. Oops. That's what happens if you let the oil go too long and it smokes too much, the smoke detector goes off. Okay, so that's done. So what I will do is I will pop in the onions on either side. Got the cover. Potatoes are going to be going in about an hour. Okay, so it was 350. I'm going to crank it to 375 because I'm running a bit behind right now and I don't want to be late for dinner. Okay, so I'll see you in about an hour. It's been about an hour and a quarter or so. What I've done is I washed some yellow potatoes. I've got quite a few here. I'm going to jam the pan with these because yellow potatoes, once they've been oven roasted, are very good for other recipes. You can either slice them up and pan fry them, all kinds of stuff you can do with them. So I always want some extra on these. So what you do is wash them first, just peel off any suspicious bits. Some of them are good, some of them had quite a few suspicious bits. That's what happens when you buy a big bag. Okay, I've got the heat had been turned back down to 350. A while ago. I've got the pan out. Oh yeah, and here we go. Okay, so I'm on that, so you can see how nice that's looking. Maybe even bring it a bit closer. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is, oops, excuse my reach. I'm just going to start putting the potatoes around. And the bigger ones put on the ends. Just basically just drop them in and get a nice ring of potatoes around the roast. Alright? So, this is going to go back in the oven at 350 covered for the first hour. And then what you do is you take it out, take the lid off. You can check it now. Some people use meat thermometers. I've been doing this for a while. I just rely on the consistency of the meat to know when it's cooked. If you're a new cook, you should always use a meat thermometer to the specifications on the package when they say cook to. Yeah, so that's looking nice. And I'll check back on that in an hour and see where we are. Okay, I just took it out of the oven, which actually I realized I had left at 375, but I mean, it doesn't matter, 350, 375. It just cooks a bit quicker at 375. The longer and slower you leave it, the more tender the meat will be. But that's pretty good. So let's take a little zoom in here. Get a bit closer, watch out. There we go. Okay, so that's a nice close-up on there. And what you want to do is you want to get your paring knife and just stick it into the middle of the potato, okay? So what you're feeling around for is, do you have any crunchy pieces? Okay, I'll try another one. The knife is slipping right through, so that's fine. What I'll do is I'll check the meat as well. You can see, yeah, that one's feeling a bit tough still. What kind of juices are coming out? The juices are not clear. Let me stick another part of the roast. That just went through quite nicely. Yeah, so that's feeling right tender. Right at the end here, yeah, it just slipped right through. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it in for another half an hour. Now I'm definitely going to leave the lid off, and it should be ready to eat in about a half an hour. Okay, it's been a half an hour. I've taken the roast out, so you can see. Now, the potatoes are nicely browned. Okay, the onions are cooked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit in the pan for about 5 minutes. Okay, so it's rested long enough. Now, I decided I am going to transfer the roast to the oven for now instead of the cutting board because I want it to stay warm, because I want to show you how to make the gravy. Okay, so I will just put that with the potatoes back in the oven, and you'll also get to see how nasty the celery is. Now, one thing, the smart, astute people that have been watching this like a hawk from the beginning will have noticed that I switched frying pans right at the beginning. The reason I did that is that plastic thing on the bottom of the roast fell into the hot oil, stuck to the pan, and it was a big mess. Okay, so I had to change at the last minute. Okay, so these are nice. These are just going to go here for now. I'm just going to pop that whole thing into the oven for a minute with the carrots. Okay, so I'll put those in as well. Now, I just want to show you, see? There is the celery. Look at the color on that. All the flavor is out. Nobody's going to want that for anything. And here is the good stuff that's going to go back in. I'm going to pour that into a gravy separator and be right back. Okay, so the last step, I've got some of the vegetables and the carrot and the onion plated. I've got the gravy ready to go here. So the last step is you can either cut all the cords first. I'm going to cut this about here, right down the middle. I'm using a serrated bread knife for this because I want you to see how the roast came out. And it came out just really well cooked. You do want this well done. This is not a roast that you want undercooked. First of all, because of the amount of connective tissue in here. Plus, also when it's this well cooked, this stuff makes amazing cold roast beef sandwiches the next day. There we have it. Pot roast, North American comfort food. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again.